Why do I stand up here? Anybody?
To feel taller.
No. Thank you for playing, Mr. Dalton. I stand upon my desk to remind myself that we must constantly look at things in a different way. You don't believe me? Come see for yourselves. Come on. Come on. Just when you think you know something, you have to look at it in another way. Even though it may seem silly or wrong, you must try. Now, when you read, don't just consider what the author thinks. Consider what you think. Boys, you must strive to find your own voice. But the longer you wait to begin, the less likely you are to find it at all. Thoreau said most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Don't be resigned to that. Break out. Now don't just walk off the edge like lemmings. Look around you.
Welcome to Successful Dropout. This podcast is for the outliers, the innovators, the rebels, those that dare to dream and act on their dreams. I'm your host, Kylan Ginger. Join me as we find out what it takes to drop out, grind, and succeed. What is up, successful dropouts? Get stoked because today on the show we have Ross Alex. Ross is a full-time real estate entrepreneur who made a life-changing decision 2.5 years ago to drop out of college, surprise, surprise, and move from New York to Houston and quit his bartending job to create a real estate business. He did his first fix and flip 2 months into getting started, and he's already done 50 fix and flips and built a solid team that is growing rapidly. He has also raised millions of dollars in private capital to buy deals. Ross says that real estate has changed his life for the better and allowed him to do things he never thought were possible. He now spends a lot of his time inspiring new, aspiring entrepreneurs to get started in their business as well. So Ross, that's the intro I have for you, man, but tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Oh, Kylan, thank you for having me on the show, buddy. I'm stoked to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So my entrepreneurial journey kind of got started when I was 15 years old. And I grew up in a house full of entrepreneurs, so I was always watching, business happening and sales being made. My mother actually, she's an artist. She was running a clothing company, so I always was around that. And going through high school just it wasn't something that I was interested in, right? I mean, I was going to all these classes and I was just more interested in, going to the parties and shopping at the mall and whatnot. It really wasn't like I was trying to be the A student here, and I knew that. But as I progressed in high school, I did what most people are conditioned to do their entire lives, and that's, hey, enroll in college, right? Enroll in community college. So that's exactly what I did, even though, it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I barely even graduated high school. I actually remember my guidance counselor telling me that I had to take 2 gym classes a day just to graduate because I was never changed for gym. Yeah, man. They wouldn't let me graduate without PE. So, yeah, I mean, it was a mess. But during high school, I was kind of like always looking for these entrepreneurial outlets, right? Like, what's going to be the next biggest thing? What can I do? What problem can I solve? So I started these little small businesses that never really went anywhere, but they were making me a little bit of money, right? Such as graphic design and doing like club promotions and stuff like that. So I got that taste of what's possible, but like I said, it never went anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I enrolled in community college, and what do I know? It's just like high school for anybody who's been to community college. I mean, you get a little more freedom, but it's pretty much the same. So it's like, oh, here I am again. Right. Okay. Well, I didn't like high school, so I'm probably not going to like this. Got some financial aid or whatever, so I didn't come out of pocket. And I remember I was actually driving to school just to sleep in my car so my mom wouldn't flip out on me for not going to class. It wasn't something I wanted to do, so I dropped out. Couple months go by. I'm watching all my friends start to graduate now. I mean, this is like a couple of months, maybe a year or two after they're graduating. They're getting these careers. They're telling me about their fraternities and all these cool things. And I started to get really bad anxiety. I mean, I was here now working. I've worked at, McDonald's. I've stacked pallets. I was doing all these odd jobs. And I was bartending at the time. So I have all my friends coming in to have a drink. And they're telling me about how great things are going. So I'm panicky. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I dropped out of college. It looks like I'm headed right back. So I re-enrolled in a different community college. Well, what do I know? I'm back again in college, sitting in class, getting slammed with midterms and all these things. And I was just like, man, this is just not going to work. This is not it. Now I really realize, like, okay, college is not for me. So I reached out to an uncle of mine, and he's a very successful commercial real estate entrepreneur in Houston. And I told him, I said, look, this is not working. I need a better way. I do not want to sit in these classrooms anymore and write essays about, World War II. I just don't want to do it. And he said, I'll never forget this. He said, Ross, learning about the Mona Lisa is great, but it's not going to make you $1 million. And when he said that to me through text, I got so much energy that I just stormed out of class. I remember my professor was like throwing a fit because he was lecturing. I just, small
just
class.
Walked up in the middle of the lecture.
Walked out, man. This guy was appalled. And,
it's ballsy, man.
Hey, it had to be done, man. It had to be. So that was the day that I dropped out, and I never looked back. Some things happened after that, but I'm sure we'll get into that here in a few minutes.
So tell us a little bit more about what you've got going now. So 50 deals in 2.5 years. Where is Ross Alex at now after that?
So I've been job free for about almost 2.5 years now. Job free. I run a real estate investment business. So my company focuses on fixing and flipping distressed properties in certain neighborhoods in and around the Houston metro area at a $250,000 price point and under. That's our niche. I also coach new and aspiring real estate entrepreneurs who want to get started in real estate. So, I'm like the mentor now, where I'm saying, hey, look, this is possible. Here's how you do it. Here's the tools you need. Let's make it happen. I do speaking engagements. I mean, I do everything that I can to give back to people that were in the same position that I was in.
Yeah. So do you have certain curriculums?
I do.
That you teach people?
Yes. So I created a program about at the beginning of 2016 called Flipping on Fire. And what it is, it's like a 25-hour intense academy that just literally goes into every deep, dark secret of the real estate business and shows you, just from a practical standpoint, this is how you do it. Like, this is really how you do it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's what I have right now on the table. And some other minor trainings and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll get back to that stuff more in detail. So tell me, when you made that decision to drop out, how did that go over with your friends and family?
Well, my friends and my coworkers thought I was a lunatic. It did not go well. I still don't really know why to this point. I've gained a little more clarity on why. I mean, maybe it was a little bit of envy, like, wow, this person's like leaving everything behind to move to a city he's never been to start a business. Watch, he's going to come back in a couple of months, begging for his job back. So, which never happened. But my friends really they just thought I was kind of lunatic at the moment. While I was doing it, I was trying to inspire my friends to follow me, and they just didn't. Like, it just didn't click with them. Right. They were busy in their acquiring more student loan debt and getting their careers of a lifetime. So I realized I had to do it on my own. It's always nice to bring people with you and start with your friends. I mean, right? The more the merrier. So the friends didn't take it well. My family, they and this is just, my honest experience. My family knew that I wasn't the A student. When it comes to this traditional education. So they were actually pretty excited that I was going to start a business rather than spend 4 or 5 years in school only to, not even know what I'm going to do once I graduate. So they were very supporting of me.
Gotcha. So you dropped out, and then it was in New York that you were working a bunch of these odd jobs and stuff, and then when you moved to Houston, did you get directly into real estate after that, or did you still work some odd jobs? And
yeah, great question. So while I was in New York, I was working at this place called the Yard House. I was bartending there, and I transferred to Houston, to the Houston location. So I needed to make money to, get my own place and pay bills. So I kind of I just transferred. I had a gig so I could make some money. That lasted for about 2 months before I just completely threw in the towel.
Okay.
On the whole job.
So then what was your first deal like? How did you get into it, and how did it turn out? Your first kind of foray into real estate?
So when I got to Houston, I actually, the week prior to Houston, I was up in Vegas at this life-changing seminar. I borrowed money to go, and I met these 2 kids. And I told these 2 kids, look, I'm going to go flip 100 houses in Houston. I've never been there before, but I'm going to do it. They got so excited about me saying that they were like, all right, well, if you're going to go there, well, then we're going to go there too. I didn't even know these kids, Kyla, literally. So now I'm in Houston, and I'm taking on the role of a real estate entrepreneur. I was daily affirmations. I'm a real estate entrepreneur. I'm just waiting on my next deal. I started going to RIAs. I started networking. I started telling people my vision, and I slowly started to build this power team that I still work with to this day. So I found a business partner. I found a crew. I found brokers. I mean, I mastered the game. And we went out and did our first deal. I remember that deal was in LaPorte, Texas. I had my partner. He came in with the funds. I came in with the resources, and we made it happen. It wasn't the most profitable deal. I think net, I walked away with like $6,000, but that was the most money I ever made in my life. Right. Yeah, at one time. So I was instantly hooked.
Because how long did it take you to turn that fix and flip around though for that $6,000?
90 days.
90 days.
90 days. It would have took sooner, but we have that flip rule, that 90-day flip rule, so I couldn't really do much until the 90th day.
What's the 90-day flip rule?
The 90-day flip rule pretty much just says that if there's FHA financing involved, title has to be seasoned for 90 days.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. But still, I mean, that's what, $2,000 a month for your first kind of foray into real estate and being an entrepreneur and working for yourself. I mean, that's not bad. That's like
right,
kind of a lower level salary.
Right, man. I mean, I got started with a 450 credit score and a negative bank account. Chase was calling me every day to collect their insufficient funds fees. I had nothing, man, nothing at all. I just had a vision. So I knew, hey, I need to go find somebody who has the same interest in real estate and also has the cash, right, to put up on these deals, and I'll just put in all the sweat equity.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did.
Right.
In all my free time, I was driving properties, sitting in classes, working deals over the phone. Just, I spoke it into existence, man.
Gotcha. So you put together a team, and by that, do you mean like people to bring in the capital and also people to actually do kind of the rehab or maybe oversee the rehab, and then you attacked your first deal or found your first house?
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I did. So I found this binder at one of the RIAs that I was going to at the time.
What's a RIA, really quick?
A RIA is a Real Estate Investment Association. Okay. So it's pretty much just where a bunch of real estate entrepreneurs gather and hang out and talk about real estate pretty much. So there was a library at this real estate club, and I found this binder, and in the binder, it was like the holy grail of real estate, man. It had dust all over it. I couldn't even believe it. I took it out right away. And in the book, it said, this is the team you need. These are the people you need to go find. So I was hopping on calls like, hey, I'm looking for a real estate broker that works with investment properties. I'm ready to buy. Send me what you got. Oh, by the way, if you have a crew, I'm looking for a general contractor to manage the job because I don't have any construction experience, right? I then went out to the real estate clubs again, and I started talking to people. I met somebody, his name's Christian, and pretty much Christian was like, I want to go flip houses. And I said, hey, I want to go flip houses, so why don't we just flip houses together? And he said, no. He shot me down. So I'm like, oh man, like this sucks. Like this is the guy I want to flip real estate with because he has the missing puzzle piece for me, which is the capital.
Yeah.
I stayed persistent, and then finally he agreed. We structured our LLC after he agreed, and it was just game over ever since.
Gotcha. Okay, so he provided most of the capital. So how did you convince him to give you money when you've never done a real estate deal in your life?
So at the time, he was a commodities broker. So he was working like the 9 to 5 gig in the markets. And I was working bartending at night. So I had pretty much all day, all morning and all afternoon to go put in the sweat, which he couldn't do. Right. So I learned very early on, you have sweat equity and you have pretty much debt equity, which is the cash. There's people that have money, but they don't have the time.
Right.
So if you're a new entrepreneur and this is something that you want to do, and pretty much in any business, if you're willing to put in the sweat, there's people that'll put up the money, right? The money is the easy part.
Yep.
It's more so the, managing the crews, driving 300 miles a day to go tour properties. There's a lot that goes into it. So I really credit my vision, right? My vision, my excitement for getting started. And this is just like a tip for any entrepreneur that's listening that has an idea. If you're not excited about your idea and your vision, you just can't expect somebody else to be excited about it.
Yeah.
So once I pretty much, I fell on this opportunity of real estate, I was just telling everybody. So I'm like, look, here's how it'll work. I have the brokers, I have the crews, I have the know-how, I have the education. All we need is the funds, and we can make these deals happen. Mm-hmm. It's a no-brainer. And that's pretty much how it happened.
So out of curiosity, and those of you listening might notice I'm asking a few deeper questions here about real estate. It's because I also have experience and have personally done a few flips just this last year. But who on your team does the math, figures out? Is that you? Do you figure out, if the deal is going to be profitable or not and kind of keep an eye on the budget?
Yes, absolutely. We have multiple buying formulas in real estate, right? I mean, you're a real estate investor yourself, so you know the 70% of the after repair value and, kind of all those numbers that we crunch. We look at the data. We see on average how long it's taken properties to move in that area. We estimate our repairs, the repair budget, right? Mm-hmm. What is this going to cost us to make it more valuable, right? Market value. And then we come in at what's called a MAO, or a maximum allowable offer. We make the offer, and, there may be some negotiations to come after that, but that's where we'll pretty much we'll make that offer. And a lot of times we get it for that price. Yeah,
man, the offer is definitely where you make the money for sure. And for those of you listening too, man, getting into real estate, I love what you said, Ross, is that the money is actually the easiest part, which is something getting into real estate. I thought that would actually be the hardest part, but it's not. In the last 3 deals I've done, I've put in 0 cash personally, and it's just to the simple fact that
it's a real thing.
Yeah, it's just the simple fact that the first one I will grant is always the hardest, right? Because you don't have very much experience. Luckily, I had a painting construction company beforehand, so I could kind of prove some knowledge and experience. But the first one's the hardest, but after you've done one profitable deal and you kind of know what you're doing, you'd be surprised how many people have money sitting around, $25, $50, $100,000 just sitting in an account somewhere. And if you can convince them that money working for them for 3 months in your hands will make them more of a return than wherever they've got it sitting now, that's all you need. And a lot of times you can structure the deals to where that money is secured by the asset or the house itself. So worst case scenario, if something does go south or you take off to Mexico or something, they can sell that house and probably, depending on where you bought it, still make more than what they put into it.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I agree 100%. In fact, I have a funny story. In the first couple of weeks that I was here, I always thought, the idea of somebody having millions of dollars in like cash money was like a myth. Like that's only on Floyd Mayweather's Instagram. Like that's not real. Until I saw it with my own eyes. I watched a guy come put a deposit on a commercial building, and this guy had like literally suitcases of cash. I couldn't believe it. And that's when I realized, like, okay, like this exists. People really do have capital, on reserve, whether it's through a self-directed IRA, a checking account, or a savings account. Like this really exists.
Yeah.
And you can't make money in the bank, right? You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to put their money into a something that's going to provide them a higher rate of return.
Absolutely. What's interesting too about these investors, because I've worked with investors with other projects and businesses we've started. Some of them, if they're smart, they always keep their money working for them. But there sometimes is like a 2 or 3 month period where they're pulling the money out of one investment and putting it into another. And that's when you got to reach out and grab it. It's because some of these people are smart. If they're really smart, they just won't leave $100,000 sitting around for a year in a checking account. But they'll maybe have pulled it out of maybe another real estate deal. And if you can know when that is and snag it on its way out.
Absolutely. And the truth is, Kylon, a lot of people that have money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them just don't know that they can invest into real estate. Mm-hmm. They just don't. So if you're a new aspiring entrepreneur listening right now, get the message out, right? Attention equals money. Mm-hmm. Go tell as many people as you possibly can who you are and what you do.
Yeah. And again, just to speak to that, and again, this is going to be a valuable podcast for anybody interested in getting into real estate, because there's a lot of insider knowledge here. But, you talk about people not knowing, I've worked with investors who are pretty savvy business owners, businessmen, or investors. So they know to keep their money working. I've raised some of my money though from, family and friends, which is called private, private money.
Private money.
And, a lot of the times it's your family and friends that they have cash sitting around and they just don't know any better. But to keep it sitting around, they have this idea that the more money you stash, like a squirrel with its nuts, the better, when
right.
That money could be working for you. And if you can you got to be a bit of a salesman, but if you can convince them that they're going to make money by giving you money, and sometimes the turnaround can be as little as 90 days, that's the ticket right there. So all that to say, your friends and family might actually be your best prospects in that regard.
Agreed.
But Ross, let's see. What would you say your biggest fear was dropping out of school, and how did you manage that?
Oh man, you're gonna remind me.
Taking you back to the dark
taking
days.
Me back. So my biggest fear about dropping out was just failing miserably, and having to live my life working at a fast food restaurant or at the mall. That was like my biggest fear, man. Because I worked at McDonald's, and I know that it's not the greatest job in the world. And I was actually a hiring manager, and the most people I hired didn't have college degrees. So I'm like they weren't kidding when they said you're going to be flipping burgers for the rest of your life.
Can you give me like a hello? This, welcome to McDonald's. Do you got a script that you remember?
I please don't make me do that, please.
I don't want to make you have a PTSD.
Would you like large fries and a Coke? But yeah, I mean, I did that stuff, and that was my biggest fear of losing out on all the time that I could have been pursuing a degree, and being 26, 27 years old and having to either start all over again, sit through, your basic classes, and then, move on and working for minimum wage or $10 an hour, $50, whatever it was. I mean, that was my fear, because I know life is short, right? We only have one life to live here, and there's just, time is so valuable. We can't waste it. Mm-hmm. To manage that, I told myself every single day that even if I fail, I can still get back up, no matter what, right? When you make that declaration, when I made that declaration to be a full-time real estate or full-time entrepreneur at that, it's okay to fail. It's not okay to not get back up.
Absolutely. Yeah, oftentimes the stepping stones to success are your failures. You just got to keep getting back up.
Absolutely. And it's scary. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not. It's scary, especially if you're like me and you're watching all your friends go get, $100,000 a year jobs, and you're here still working at the mall.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, what am I doing? But just know that there's a lot more to come. Yeah. There's always a lot more to come. There's always a lot more out there. So just never get comfortable and just keep striving to be great.
Yeah. Now, Ross, this is totally up to you, but I like to ask the guests on our show if we can get to the numbers, and some, don't want to share for obvious reasons and stuff, but I'm wondering if there's any numbers from your business you can share as far as maybe your revenue goes, maybe your average net from a flip. A lot of times that inspires the people listening and really shows them what's possible. But again, I want to be respectful and understand, if you don't want to share that, that's fine too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm comfortable with that. So the properties that I fix and flip net are anywhere from $25,000 to $45,000, right? I'd say like that's a very safe, profit that we can make on a deal.
And is that still typically probably an average of a 90-day turnaround, or?
Yes, yeah. And sometimes more. I mean, I'm going to be fully transparent here. At the end of the day, real estate investment is an investment. And investments can go really great and investments can go really bad. The good thing about real estate, it's not like the stock market where you throw mud at the wall. In real estate, we're using calculated, analysis and decisions. Yep. Have I lost money on a deal? Yes, I have. A lot of these TV shows nowadays, they tell you if you buy a house for $50,000 and you put $50,000 into it, you sell it for $200, you make $100,000. Well, I mean, that's just not.
It's not as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, you got closing costs, you got realtor commissions, right? I mean, you have holding costs, right? The money that you have to pay just to borrow the money, right?
Yep.
So my deals make somewhere around $25,000 to $45,000. I did one 2 weeks ago. We made $46,000 on it. Held the property for 3 months. Really smooth deal. We broke multiple six figures in our first year of business. I run two businesses. So my real estate investment business, I do have a 50% partner on that deal, on most of the deals, I will say. So if a deal makes, $50,000, I mean, we're taking 25 a piece.
Yeah.
The key is volume, right? How many of these can I do at a time?
Yep.
So we're not just doing one deal at a time. We're doing 5 deals at a time, 6 deals at a time. It didn't start like that. I went from doing one deal to then 3 deals a quarter, then 3 deals a month. Businesses have to grow accordingly. You have to make sure you have the crews and the systems to grow and not, fall on your face. So it took some time. But yeah, we did a couple $100,000 in the first year. Second year, we pretty much doubled our growth and we just did even more. So we did about 30 deals, 2015 into 2016. And ever since that, I mean, we've been buying on average about two properties every week or two, somewhere around there.
Gotcha.
So I know you guys, you listeners, you can do the math.
Yeah.
But that's one side of the business. I also run my educational business that does all the coaching and whatnot. That business did. I've broken $100,000 a month on that business.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, not all the time. I mean,
yeah.
Like I said, I'm going to be transparent here, but we do, when we do a launch or something like that, it can be really great.
So your partner is just the Christian guy you were talking about?
Yeah, Christian, if you're listening, man, shouts out to you.
Does he still put up the majority of the capital, or have you started putting some of your earnings towards the?
He doesn't. I've only used my own cash on 1 or 2 deals. Mm-hmm. The majority of my money is private money. I use social media as a freaking cash cow. I mean, really? I started shooting videos. I started posting pictures of what I was doing. And little did I know there were people watching, right? And they were seeing what I was doing. And I started getting messages like, Ross, we love what you're doing. We want to be a part of it. We have money. Let's do a deal. And at first I was like, is this like a scam? Is this real? And I had a lady cut me a wire, right? Or initiate a wire for $130,000. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go do this 10 more times. Yeah.
Wow.
So then I started really putting out the message like, I'm raising capital for deals. Do you want to partner with me? Let's do some deals. So I started leveraging literally 100%, man. I wasn't putting a penny. To this day, I'm not putting a penny into these deals. The returns I provide are generous. I want lenders coming back like slot machines. I want them to know that when they want to invest, they only got to call me.
Yeah.
So it's a very competitive space, right?
Do you do kind of a percentage of the upside, like a percentage of the profit, or
It's all debt. It's all debt. So I'm just providing an interest rate of return. Typically, we'll do no points up front. We'll do no points up front.
Right.
We'll do simple interest, no monthly payments, where the investors, the lenders, they get paid back principal and interest upon sale of the property.
Nice? Yeah, that's a pretty sweet deal for you too. Do you remember? Do you typically use a lot of the same lenders, or do you have some?
I do, absolutely. I do. There's at one point, Kylon, it came where I didn't have enough deals. I had more money than I had deals.
Yeah.
So my lenders were kind of getting upset with me, and they're like, "Hey, we're waiting." And I'm like, "I don't have anything for you to invest in. I'm looking. Do you want to buy a Jimmy John's franchise? We can go buy a sandwich shop, but I don't have any deals right now."
Wow.
And that's why the truth is, in real estate and in any business, the leads are your blood to your business. You got to have leads, right? A pizzeria can't survive if there's no customers coming in. A real estate business can't survive if there's no leads coming in.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever lost so bad on a job that you couldn't pay an investor back?
No. So I personally guarantee all my lenders their money back, right? That's number one. Number two, if I take a hit on a deal, which I have done, the money will come out of my personal checking account before I can ever let a lender, have to foreclose on me or something of that, something to that extreme. I'll make sure that they get cashed out.
Gotcha. So kind of on that vein, what would you consider to be your worst entrepreneurial moment to date?
My worst entrepreneurial moment to date was when I first moved to Houston. Mind you, when I was back in New York after I went to that conference in Vegas, I kissed my girlfriend goodbye. Been with her like 2 years at the time. And I said, "Hey, I'm going to Houston to go get rich. Do you want to come?" She was in like cosmetology school, so she couldn't. I'm like, "Oh man, okay, well, it looks like I'm going on my own." So I get to Houston. I've lived with my parents my whole life. Now I have to go get my own apartment, which I was pretty excited about, but I didn't realize just what being so lonely feels like. And I remember I stayed in that apartment by myself, living by myself for 7 months before my girlfriend moved down with me. So for those 7 months, man, I was by myself in this city of like 7 million people. I don't know anybody. It was just bad. It was rough, man. I'm not even going to lie to you, Kylon. It was rough.
You seem like a really outgoing extrovert, so I'm sure that was...
Yeah. I'm used to, being with my friends and meeting new people and hanging out, So I'm in Houston, 7 months living by myself, going on social, watching all my friends going to the clubs. Because I was, I love the house music scene, always going to the new parties. And I'm like missing out. And it was rough for me. My friends were always getting together. I couldn't be there. And it was just one of those things where I had to really just get serious about being serious and it's kind of like just silence that out. And one of the things that helped me manage that was the 3 words actually. It's just temporary. It's just temporary. I was bartending. It was terrible. I was by myself. It was terrible. No girlfriend. That was the worst. But I told myself, it's just temporary. It's not going to be like this forever. And I pushed through. And that brings me to the next thing. Sacrifice is necessary. Yeah. If you're a new entrepreneur listening right now, you need to be willing to sacrifice. There will be moments that are not great. They're just not. And you're not happy and you go into a depression. But you got to tell yourself it's just temporary. Sacrifice is necessary. And one day, sooner than later, it's not going to be like this.
Good word, man. So how about on the flip side, more of an aha moment of your entrepreneurial journey so far, a moment where you learned something or encountered something, and something in your head just clicked and you viewed things differently from then on?
An aha moment for me, I'd say, well, I have like 5 aha moments today, man.
That's good.
One of those aha moments for me was really leverage. Leverage, the concept blows my mind to this day, every day, because it's amazing. I mean, you have a boulder, you try to pick the boulder up with your bare hands, it ain't moving. I mean, no matter, I don't care how strong. I mean, unless you're like the strongest man in the world, but the average Joe is just not making that boulder move. But if you put a 2x4 under it, suddenly you can you can move the boulder.
Yeah.
And that's just what leverage is all about. So leveraging in my business changed the game for me. It was aha moment. I thought, I realized that all I had to do was go share my vision with other people, and I can then do things that I thought I could never do, right? Like right now, I'm in contract to buy 11 rental properties. I use leverage, right? I reach out to my network. I say, hey, I have this opportunity. Do you want to get in? So leverage, master leverage. We can do things in our business that don't always involve us being the one doing them.
Yeah.
Right? We leverage other people's time, other people's resources. You want to drive a Lamborghini, but you can't afford one. No worries. Go meet somebody who has one, become friends with them, and now you can drive around a Lamborghini. So it's all leverage, right? So when I learned how to use leverage, I started raising more money, getting more deals. Just more things started happening for me.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, with the rental deals, you help you buy those, and then do you just profit share of the rental proceeds, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, I have this portfolio. I already, put a value on it. This is what it's worth. This is what we're going to pay for it. And I go out and I shop it around to partners, right? People that want to buy and hold real estate. And I sell a piece of the pie for cash flow, right? I mean, it's a genius strategy. If you have a deal right now, you have 100% of it, go sell off 40% of the deal, keep 60. That 40% is valued at this amount, so you can buy the deal. You're going to be the conductor and control the deal. That person needs you because you're educated. They're looking for cash flow. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Do you see in the future, I mean, where do you see all this going in the future? Do you hope to eventually use, some of your own cash to own 100% of a deal or two, or a rental property, or what's kind of your long-term vision?
So my long-term vision is not to use my own cash in the single-family space. I'm a very practical person. So I'm always looking where I am right now, and where will I be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, doing the same things that I'm doing right now, right? Evolution's necessary. I'm going to get into commercial real estate, true commercial real estate, because I know that that's what will get me to that $100 million, $250 million goal. Single family houses just won't. I love them. They're fun. It's great. But let's be serious, man. I mean, you know what I mean, man. I mean, how many houses you got to flip to make $100 million?
That's a lot.
That's a lot of houses. Exactly. But if you start buying strip centers, I mean, the numbers just add up, add a few zeros, and you can be at your goal in, no time. So I think that very, very soon, in fact, 2017, I just got back from a commercial boot camp where I learned all this stuff, and I'm going to start really implementing and putting together partnerships and buying strip centers and in medical plazas and things like that.
Do you see that as probably pretty near in the future? I mean, I guess given the level of experience that you have right now, how much more do you need to actually do that? I just read, oh no, it wasn't a book I just read. It's something, is it Peter Thiel that talks about it? He says something like, if you've got a 10-year plan, you should ask yourself why you can't do it in 6 months. And so I guess I'm asking you have a certain amount of experience right now to be able to do this and buy maybe a strip center. Do you think you need more experience, or are you just waiting to have the kind of capital it would take, or do you already have access to that?
That's a great question. So in the commercial space, there's definitely a lot more zeros.
Yeah.
right? And some of the concepts are pretty general in any industry that you're in. So what's great for all the entrepreneurs listening right now is, yeah, we're talking about some real estate application, but these strategies can work in any industry, right? You want to start a restaurant business, go raise the money for that.
Yep.
Same way you would raise it for a house. So I can definitely use my skill sets in the single family space, in the commercial space, as far as raising money. But the commercial space is just a different beast. It just, analyzing a strip center is a lot more involved than analyzing a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house.
Really?
So, yeah, I mean, you're looking at, triple net leases, and there's just a lot, vacancy rates and common area maintenance. I mean, there's just a lot more cap rates and stuff like that. So it's not that I think I need more education. I just need to do, right? I just need to actually get started and identify something and do the same thing I would in a house, go find partners to put it together. I do have a mentor that, I have multiple mentors, but one of my mentors buys strip centers. So, I'll just reach out when I need to.
Gotcha. But you're saying that the commercial real estate game and the mechanics of that game are quite a bit different than single family.
Yeah, for
different.
sure, man. It's a different beast for sure. Some of the terms are the same. I mean, in the single family house space, we use ARV to tell us, hey, this is our after repair value.
Right.
Whereas in commercial real estate, they use capitalization rates and net operating income, and the formulas are different. What they look at is different, right? I mean, it's just a little more. I'd say it's a little more advanced, right? It's like a mastery level.
Yeah. Man, I'd love to learn more about that too. We were involved in the process of purchasing a building that now houses 2 of our businesses. And actually, one business we own subleases to another business that we started. But I wasn't real involved in that process, and I'd love to learn more because it does seem like a very different game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. After the show, I'll give you a plug.
Sweet.
for somebody that you can reach out to get you get you in action.
Awesome. Ross, if you could time travel back to day one of your entrepreneurial journey and have 10 minutes with your former self to communicate any lessons you've acquired with the intention of saving yourself mistakes and heartache, what would you tell yourself?
If I was to travel, you said 10 years ago?
If you were to time travel back to day one of your journey and have 10 minutes with yourself.
Day one.
So some quick advice for your younger self who's just starting out. What would you tell yourself?
Think bigger. Take more action. When I first got started, I thought that I was thinking big. And I thought that I was taking massive action. Right? I'm a doer. I want to go out and do it. And I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it to the level that I could have been doing it.
Right.
And, one thing that was really a big moment in my life was, I'm going to take it back even further if that's okay.
Yeah.
When I was 16 years old, 15 years old, even 14 years old, every year for my birthday, my uncle would send me these books from Robert Kiyosaki, Napoleon Hill, all these like success books. And you know what they did? They went right in the freaking
back up on the bookshelf and got dusty.
Yeah,
or something.
Man. I mean, I didn't want it. I wanted gift cards to go buy sneakers. I wasn't looking to read these books, right? And one of the biggest things that I regret is not getting started sooner. Back when I was 16, I'm 26 now. It hurts me to say that, but when I first got started, I wish I got started sooner. So if anybody's listening right now and you're thinking about getting started, get started right now, like after this podcast. Yeah. But the truth is, man, I thought I was thinking big. I thought I was taking action. I was driving properties. I was doing this. I was doing that. 3 years or 2.5 years into it, I'm happy with where I am, but I'm nowhere near comfortable. I'm not complacent at all.
Yeah.
I don't even really consider myself halfway there.
Yep.
Right. For me, and that's just my subjective, perspective on it. But I would have thought bigger. I was focused on flipping 100 houses. I should have been focused on 1,000. Yeah. And I use that every day now where I don't think small at all. I think big. And I read a quote somewhere that says, if your goals if your goals aren't big enough when you tell them to other people and they don't think you're crazy. All right, something like that. I want people to think that I'm a nut. Elon Musk announced to the world he's going to Mars. People think this guy's a nut job. He's one of the greatest living entrepreneurs in the world, and he just launched a rocket the other day.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that went to space. But when you say things like that, people are like, "Wow, this guy's a nut job," right?
Yeah.
So I'm always looking to think bigger, take more action, do more. I know that right now, while we're on this podcast, there's some 18-year-old kid sitting in his room building a new company that's going to make billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And I know that. And I know that to be a fact, right? Something that you and I probably don't know anything about, right? Totally off the record until it happens. But it's happening. And I know that. So I use every single day of my life to think bigger and take more action, so I don't regret in the future what I could have done. Yeah. But I chose not to.
Yeah. So start earlier. So were you 24 when you got started then?
23.
23. I was 24 when I got started with my first business, and I, like you, I kind of view myself as a bit of a late bloomer, and I wish I would have gotten started a lot sooner. Had little businesses or business-like ventures earlier on too, but didn't take it very seriously until about 24 years old, and I wish I had earlier.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, look at the kid that started Oculus, right? You know, those like virtual reality headsets that Facebook bought. And that kid's like, he's 21 now or something. I think he started when he was like 16. I guarantee you that kid punted his whole high school party life. The guy didn't do anything. He just sat in his room, built technology, sold the company for $700 million. I mean, it's like, so anybody listening right now, I don't care what age you are, get started today. Mm-hmm. Do the things that you want to do right now. Life is short. There's no rewind button, and it's not going to wait for you. So you got to go out there and make it happen for yourself.
Yep. Totally agree, man. So let's move a little bit more into the lightning round here. What's a personal habit that contributes to the success you've achieved so far?
Personal habit. Every single night before I go to bed, I write down, I pretty much just brain dump. I write down all the things that I want to do the following day. So I plan my nights, I plan my days the night before. Right. I also brain dump any ideas. Anything I think I'm going to remember, I probably won't, so I write it down. Next thing is I outsource as much as I can. Whether it's a virtual assistant, whether it's a one of my staff members that helps me do something, I outsource. Third personal habit, nutrition, right? Nutrition is very important. I kind of slacked off on it. Not happy about that, but I'm back on it. Nutrition is so important. Health is the real wealth, right? You got to make sure that you're getting proper nutrition and you're exercising because, like Tony Robbins says, the more energy you put out, the more energy you get in return. Yep. And as entrepreneurs, we need energy. Mm-hmm. And that comes from your diet and the amount of exercise you do. So I start my day off every day in the gym and make sure that I'm not eating junk, even though I want to. I try not to. Yeah. So yeah, those are 3 habits.
Do you get 8 hours of sleep?
I don't. I really don't. I get about I'd say 6 to 7.
Are you
not a full 8?
Are you able to function pretty well on that, or do you wish you got 8 hours?
I wish I got 8 hours. I'm usually up very late nights because I get hyperactive at night. It's terrible. That's one of my bad habits. Yeah, I start thinking I'm gonna go build like the next Facebook at night. I mean, I dial in, right? It's quiet. I'm alone. My girlfriend's sleeping, so I could work. There's this saying, I think there's a myth in the entrepreneurial space. It's like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, team no sleep. I'm like, that is the biggest load of garbage I've ever heard in my life. You cannot operate at your peak, your optimal efficiency without sleep.
Yeah.
Team no sleep. What is that? Do not believe in this stuff, guys. If you don't sleep, you can't operate. You don't sleep enough, you die. So get sleep. It's very, very important. It's very important. Everybody should be sleeping, at least 6 hours, 7 hours a night.
Yeah. How much Netflix do you watch?
when my girlfriend's watching or when I'm watching. I'm the YouTube guy, so I just watch like nerd stuff on YouTube, like training videos.
Yeah, me too.
You know those YouTube sessions where you start at one video and next an hour later you're
dangerous. Like, yeah, I know.
learning about the cosmos and crazy stuff that you never even knew about. But
I guess maybe another question is how many hours a day do you think you're kind of actively engaged in? Not necessarily even working on real estate, but in that entrepreneurial, just building something mindset. And how many hours are you just kind of vegging out, kind of thing, relaxing or?
Oh man, dude, I work like nonstop, man. I'm pretty much putting in I'd say 16, 17-hour days where I'm always doing something. Mm-hmm. I like to keep myself very, very occupied, right? Very productive. But I mean, I'm in a relationship, and maintaining relationships is essential, right? You have to keep them healthy. So I do watch movies, right? I'm a human. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna sit here and say I'm working 20 hours a day and I keep myself in a closet. I live a regular life. I love to watch Shark Tank. To go back to your Netflix, absolutely. I love Shark Tank.
Shark Tank on Netflix.
It is.
Really? I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, The Profit, $1 Billion Bot, things like that.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, she watches like the investigative discovery shows, the killer shows. I don't. When that stuff's on, I just put my headphones in and go on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important to have a little bit of balance, but you also need to have that laser-like focus.
Yeah. Now, when you say you like to kind of keep doing things and stay pretty active, do you find, like, looking back, say that all the things you did maybe the last couple of weeks, do you find that you're more prone to just being busy or actually productive? Because I'm sure as well as I do, you can do a lot of things and just be busy, or you can be more productive and even do maybe fewer things than if you were just busy, if that makes sense. Kind of the 80-20 principle. How good at that do you think you are, or is that something you're still working on?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So I definitely agree. Being busy doesn't mean that you're being productive. They're two completely different things. Right. And a lot of people confuse the two. Mm-hmm. For me, I wake up every day and I tell myself, or I ask myself, how am I going to make money today? And that's my main goal. So I'll set a number and I'll do the things that I need to do in order to hit that goal for the day. Whether it's making sales, hopping on sales calls, things like that. So I'm always engaging in money-making activities. And we call those, right, IPAs, income producing activities. I tend to really just stray away from all the minimum wage activities. A saying I use, do what you do best, outsource the rest. So I'm really outsourcing all the activities that are just not something I should be doing. So being productive, I'm focused on acquisitions of new deals. I'm focused on sales. I'm focused on connecting with new entrepreneurs, doing things like this, giving value. I live stream daily on my Facebook page. So even things that don't make me immediate income, things that I'm passionate about, like helping entrepreneurs get results. I'd like to say I'm pretty good at, balancing the two.
Yeah. When you say do the things what was the saying you said? Do the things you're good.
Do what you do. Yeah. Do what you do best and outsource the rest.
I like that. When you say do what you do best, what is it that you do best? It seems like maybe more of the sales networking aspect of things.
Yeah. Sales, networking, marketing. Those are the things that I really enjoy doing.
The people tasks.
Yeah. The people task. And then, managing my team and making sure that documents are being signed and contracts and follow-ups and all. Yeah. Pretty much like I'm the kind of like the back office guy when it comes to like running the numbers and stuff like that. And then my business partner is more on the project manager side. So he's the one really like dealing with the crews. And then I'm also, I'm on the front line making sales, doing events, speaking at different clubs and stuff like that.
Oh, gotcha. So you're actually more the paperwork numbers guy as well.
Yeah. So, well, as far as paperwork, I mean, I'm not filling out contracts. I mean, I'll sign them,
Right.
but I'll outsource that to a virtual assistant.
Okay.
So I don't have to sit there and do that. But I do oversee the paperwork side of the business.
Gotcha.
Where I'm more of like the analytical behind the computer guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's because we're millennials. Like, we're just good at the computer. My business partner is a little older than me, so I always see that gap. It's like,
Yeah. It's
computers or it's not.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you're kind of that more analytical, the numbers, paperwork guy, and you're kind of the people person, networker and stuff too. I don't see those go hand in hand, but no, it's good. I mean, it seems like you're just well-rounded as far as the skill set goes, required to building a business. You got to work with people, but you got to be smart about the systems and the numbers too.
Right. Absolutely.
One without the other.
And yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. Do the things that you like to do.
Yeah.
Right. And accept what you're not good at. Mm-hmm. I'm not good at telling you how much a roof is going to cost in order to get replaced. I'm just not good at that. I'm not a handyman. I could probably change a tire and that's about it. Right. But I know how to take a car to a shop. I know how to hire a roofing company to fix my roof and get a great deal on it. Yeah. So I don't get ripped off. And, it's okay. Be an expert at hiring experts.
Yeah. I love it. So I know we've gone a little bit over. We're coming up to our last couple questions here.
Sure.
What's some parting advice that you'd have for any of our listeners who are thinking of dropping out to pursue entrepreneurship, but they haven't quite made that step yet?
Get started. Get started. It's so important. I wish I can take a megaphone and just tell people, get started. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible for you to have everything in your life that you want. You want a Lambo? It's possible. You want a mansion? It's possible. You want your own helicopter? It's possible. You want to feed starving children? It's possible. Anything is possible. And you have to know that. If you don't want to sit at a 9-to-5 job for the rest of your life, if you don't want to be average, if you don't want to take orders from somebody else, and you want to start a business, it's possible. Anybody can do it. Anybody. As long as you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to stay patient, you're willing to grind, and you want it bad enough, you will get it. I said the other day, look, if you don't want success bad enough, don't worry, because you won't get it. And that's just the truth. You have to want it. You have to want it more than you want to breathe. And life is short. There's no rewind button. There's no pause button. Stop acting like you live twice. Do the things that you want to do. Do the things. There's a whole world out there for you to see. There's a whole world out there for you to experience. So if you're realizing that college is not for you, right? College just doesn't equal business. I mean, I have the utmost respect, Kylon, for people that go to medical school and they become engineers and they become attorneys. College is necessary in that aspect. I don't want to go get operated on by somebody who learned how to operate off YouTube, right? And that's just the truth. But if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to build businesses, it's possible for you to do that without going to university for 5-6 years and getting your MBA and going into the corporate world. It's possible. Cut out all the negative people in your life. Surround yourself with the most positive people. Remember, you're the average of the people you hang out with, right? You have to hang out with winners. You have to hang out with people that are always looking to help you be better, help you improve, and not bring you down. People that are positive. Stay positive. Positivity breeds positivity. Stay fired up. Rock out every single day. You're great. Believe in yourself, and you'll do big things.
Awesome, man. I completely agree. And for our last question here, about some parting advice for people who are more in your position, who've already dropped out, and they're already doing what you said, and they're pursuing that more the entrepreneurial aspect.
So for people, I'm sorry, can you just repeat that question?
Yeah, just some
people that have already dropped out?
Yeah, some parting advice for people that have already dropped out and who are already on their entrepreneurial journey.
Stay focused. Quitting is not an option. There's no towel to toss in. Rome wasn't built in a day. The man who created Starbucks got rejected over 60 times. They thought he was a nut. Walt Disney, they wanted to put him in an institution because they thought he was crazy. And now look, Disney World is the biggest entertainment, space in the world. You have to stay focused. Even when people don't believe in you, you have to believe in yourself. You have to stay motivated. Like Zig Ziglar says, motivation's like showering. It doesn't last. You have to do it every single day. Every single day. Stay fired up. Keep moving forward. It can be a reality for you faster than you know.
What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Guys, hit me up on Facebook, Ross Alex. Just plug it in. I should pop up. If I didn't, I'm not doing my job correctly. Email me, flippinginaction@gmail.com. Instagram, Ross Alex Flips. And all my information is on there. So just inbox me on Facebook or add me as a friend.
Awesome. Well, successful dropouts. Like Ross said, you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around the most, and you've been hanging out with Ross and myself, learning what it takes to drop out, grind, and succeed. For everything we talked about today, head over to successfuldropout.com and type Ross into the search bar, and the show notes will pop right up. And as always, stay hungry, stay foolish.